if you take Bonnaroo out of my life, my culture meter drops like to the floor. Like I haven't seen anything. Like I could give you a list of a wish list of music that would never end if Bonnaroo didn't exist, because every year they package at least 5 or so acts that I just have to see, and that's been going for 20 years. Without Bonnaroo, I would be, who the hell knows what I would be.
In genres that you would never walk across the street.
Chappell Roan, my God, a record. I paid $60 for this. What the hell's the matter with me, right?
Welcome back to the What Podcast. I'm Barry. That's Brian. That's Russ. It's we're coming up on the middle of November. We're getting close to what are we? What are we getting close to?
Pre-sale dates, I guess.
Pre-sale dates, yeah.
Rumor season for everybody is basically every minute of their lives.
That's right. Who's coming? Who's not? We're not going to get into that one this time. We're going to go on talk about some news, and then we're going to rehash a little bit last week's episode, as promised, with Brad and Cory from C3, because it was such a big episode, and we didn't want to go too long. We wanted to take a minute and digest it ourselves, and we're going to get into that. But before we do that, we've got a little bit of news, a little bit of catching up to do. Russ, you just spent the weekend one of the coolest events.
Yeah, back at where the little tiny planes might crash into your bus. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah,
you said there were no planes this weekend.
No planes this time.
What's up with that? Is it too windy or just...
Probably. I mean, it's just a private airstrip.
So they just get together all the time, whether they're doing any landings or not.
Look at him. He just blows it off like it's just a private airstrip. Like
well, I mean, it's not like there's planes coming in all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like this is,
not this.
It's not like this is ATL or something.
The mystery man that is Russ. I love it. All right, what's going on, guys? What's the news out there that we want to talk about?
Well, not a ton, but a little bit. And we've been so distracted by so many things that we won't get into. Some we know exactly what I'm referring to, some we don't.
Yeah.
And what I am going to have to struggle with for the next couple of weeks or months or years, is trying to stay on top of things, because hibernation mode is starting to hit for me either way, just with the changing of the season. But social media is a place I don't really want to spend a lot of time at all, and we were just kind of in the pre-show meeting before we got in here. When are you going to join the Discord? I don't know. If I could get rid of all of the social medias right now, I might. So I'm not going to add to that list, I don't think. So
well,
I'm going to
Discord. This isn't social media.
Well, okay. That's fine. But my point is
it's a pretty
that
safe space.
It is. It totally is. I'm joking on that. But I'm going to try to stay on top of things, but it's hard when you cut, we're so reliant on social media on so many things, and I'm just on there the last 5 days. I'm like, I can't take it. And so
I got to be honest. I'm proud of mine. Mine has not been bad.
So your algorithm is doing well for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was afraid I was going to have to cut it off, and apparently I'm not alone, because I've got nothing.
Well, my main point is as I promise to try to stay up to date on things as much as possible, but it's hard when you ignore, for me, primarily Twitter, and because that's where I find information the quickest. It's not always the best information, but anyway, so I've kind of gone dormant for the last 5 days. I'll try to.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Discord, because you should join the Discord. We have we're growing. We got almost 200 people in there now, and that's the place I drop the episodes early. If you want early access,
there you go.
That's the place to get them.
Yeah, and I understand what Discord
put a link to
is.
The Discord.
Yeah, I know it's not. It's a very curated. So I mean, it's still a social media by the definition of the words, but. Yeah, one of these days, this week, by the next time you talk to us, I will be a member of the Discord, guys.
Because Brad Parker's already joined. Brad Steiner's already joined. Barry's already joined.
Steiner joined.
Yeah,
I joined.
You're the last
Brad Steiner.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a party I can't not be at.
Well,
I'm saying.
And, shameless plug, but Russ, thank you so much. Brian says it every week. Thank you for what you do. People don't understand. We record these things, and then you do such amazing work.
Yeah, this thing's over. I hit off and I'm on my way
you
to
know,
Atlanta.
y'all are
for
out
the
the
day.
door.
We're gone,
Yeah.
and then Russ has like 8 hours.
And I'm still
worth
stuck
of work.
here, editing. So
Well, and I looked at I finally watched the episode which we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. Just the last couple of days, and man, that was a lot to go through just to listen to, and it's it's a great listen and great watch, but to put all that together, just to double up on the thank you on that. But
People
real
don't
quick, guys,
understand. He takes a second out here and a second out there, and it makes it tighter, and and then he puts things in. So
editing's no joke
I'm
either.
starting to-
thank you, man.
I'm starting to get kind of good at it, I think. After 8 years.
It only took almost took nearly a
Yeah.
decade. But so real quick, going into there was just too much to do the last few weeks. I've had it for a couple weeks, but a little quick show and tell. I don't know. It just kind of came together that the weekend that Chappell Roan was going to be on Saturday Night Live, I ended up wandering into a record store here locally, and I've been wanting to add. I collect vinyl in a very, very specific fashion, and generally these days it has to be a colored vinyl. And so I've been wanting Chappell's now Grammy Award nominated countless. Good Luck Babe is the track that got most of the attention, and then the album, The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess. But I finally got the record, and what makes this one special? It is it's a super mass-produced version, so it's not like it has any rarity at this point. But it is the peach,
I like that
pink vinyl.
Peach, nice.
Yeah.
So I will be putting that on the wall here soon enough.
I like it.
And
I'm
so
with you. I'm a sucker for colored vinyl, any kind of unique design, clear vinyl. I got a bunch of that. Yeah, I got.
It's gotten to where if it's a colored vinyl, you've got my attention, and it's usually for decorative purposes. I listen a little bit, but not a whole lot. But so I'm happy to have that. Happy to have that. And then that weekend, she played Saturday Night Live, and it was almost like, just to speak of the performance real quick, you can find it on every social. They're all clipped and waiting there for you if you just want the performance to take you no time to see. They played Pink Pony Girl. She did, the band, to open the first. 2 songs on the show, and so that got me thinking. And I was right. And it's a pretty easy one if you've watched that show for any length of time over 5 decades. If a band has been around for a little bit, they don't have a brand new album, and they play a single that's from early on, it probably means they're going to play a brand new song next, kind of priming you. Like, we're going to play one that everybody in the world's heard, because we're about to play one that not a single person's
nobody's
heard. And that's exactly what she did. So they played that, and it sounded great. They had the full band out there. She's gotten a lot of, and for very reasonable reasons, she's gotten a lot of flack online for a lot of the piped in music and vocals in some of her massive festival shows. And I mean, like pop acts do, all of them do that. Right. So does she. And I was a little annoyed by that too. It's almost like they heard that and said, "Oh yeah, well, watch this." They had 5 backup singers, piano, the full band, drums, the whole deal. There wasn't a thing prepackaged on this, and it sounded amazing.
Good.
But the second song, the brand new one, guys, this is troubling. It is a country song. It is a pop country song, like it was designed in a Nashville lab in 10 minutes. It is the cheapest. I want to say weird. It's not weird because the machine's gotten a hold of her, and that's what's popular, and they want to focus in on that. It sounds like Shania Twain with a new 21st century spin on it and some queer lyrics that were written in 5 minutes. It was disappointing, and the machine is why she's doing this. I hope it's just a little one-off, a little test, and we don't have some kind of pop country album on the way written by Nashville, right? But I don't know. You can go take a listen for yourself.
It's interesting you say, because she's been, I mean, and we talk about it a little bit last week with Brad. I mean, she's a phenomenon. I mean, what has happened to her in the last year is such a, I don't know, case study. Is that the right? I mean,
could be depending on which direction you're about to say next. But yeah,
exactly.
It's a case study of several different things.
Of something. She went from 0 to 4 million in no time, and then pissed everybody off by saying she wished her fans would leave her alone, basically. And
she's still a 26-year-old, very, very, very young person.
Exactly, and you can't blame her. I mean, that would be hard. I don't care who you are. All of a sudden, people are in your face in your business, and
right. And there's that sophomore album curse. It happens to a lot of artists that make a big splash with their debut album, and then they follow up with a second record, and it doesn't hit as high.
Well,
and
I told you my favorite story.
Work through that, and
one of my favorite quotes, and I cannot remember who it was, but I was interviewing somebody, and I mentioned the sophomore jinx, and he's basically. Yeah, you have your whole life to write your first record, and then you spend 8 months in a bus, and all you see is a road and a window. And he's like, yeah, nobody cares that your limo driver's having a bad day. That's one of my favorite quotes ever. And I can't remember who said it, but that's the truth.
That's so good, and it's. I should have just even guessed something like that. I was listening to Noel Gallagher from Oasis talk about just retrospective stuff here recently on the heels of next year's big reunion. And he talks about how their first album, they were the same as the guys they were playing for. Like they were all the same people. They just happened to be on stage. And so the next album, which he didn't like, What's the Story, Morning Glory, Noel didn't like it. I loved it, but I was 15 when it came out. So just different perspectives. And he's like, the next album sucks. It was so overproduced. And it was so rushed. And I mean, he wasn't saying he hated his life. He was just talking about the music. He was happy to be a rich guy. Like he was like, I was the richest guy in the room, and I was excited. Except for it was harder to write music. So yeah, that's.
And now you got a bunch of suits in the room saying, "We need to do this. You need to do what you did before." And
they're expecting the same level.
I mean, we're going sideways, but yeah.
But I don't want to go just a tiny bit more sideways. Is back to Chappell. Is that a lot of those songs from that Midwest Princess album are 5 to 10 years old. You can see videos on TikTok, which my algorithm gives me all that I can take because I have become as much of a super fan of a pop act as I ever will. And those are old songs, and a lot of people don't like her because of the corporate nature that she became really, really quick, because then songwriters got involved. Right. And Barry, you'll remember. I mean, for that whole album, that one I like so much, you'll probably remember this. I don't know how much you are into Aerosmith, but their career was falling off a cliff after the Dream On days and a little bit of that '70s stuff, and then into the '80s. Joe Perry and Steven Tyler sat around with the same people, like the parents of whoever works for Chappell right now, and they wrote all their songs for the next 10, 15 years. No one really realizes that.
Right.
Steven and Joe sat in the room, so they got songwriting credit, but the reason Pump and Love in an Elevator and Ragdoll became so huge because pop songwriters created those. So anyway, a lot of people don't like that. I think it's just part of the game, and I hope
it's 100% part of the game, and that's what makes it so hard. And that's why, again, what's happening to Chappell, that sounds over heavy-handed, but it's not unusual. And it again, it's kind of a case study. I mean, this is what happens, I mean, she blew up. I can't even imagine the pressure, the conversations and
that record is so good. I can't imagine they can make one as good, but we'll find out in the next year or two. But then one other thing I had here on my list was that, and I had to look at this over and over and over and over again. This When We Were Young thing that Brad talked about too, when we talked Brad Parker, when we talked more about the narrow cast, that they more curated as opposed to multi-genre festivals and the success that When We Were Young out in Las Vegas has been over the last like 5 years. That's just all the stuff from the early 2000s or so. They just wrapped that thing up. And I double checked because I thought I was going crazy 3 weeks ago. And next year's lineup, complete lineup and dates is announced 3 weeks later. Who does that?
I'm the same way. I feel like they're constantly announcing, and it's like, well, didn't they just finish this? And no, and
do they do it every other week?
And that's what I was thinking. I was like, do they do it like 6 times a year or something?
So I'm looking at the list: Panic at the Disco, Blink, Weezer, Avril Lavigne, Offspring, All Time Low, Knocked Loose, Gaslight Anthem, Bad Religion, Yellow Card.
Yeah, Bad Religion. I mean, they barely fit the bill on there. I didn't love to see Bad Religion. Yeah,
I didn't. You know what? We didn't think to ask Cory because South Star. You remember was supposed to happen next year, but it happened this year because of Blink saying we want to do it. I wonder if they already have 2025 booked. You know what I mean?
South Star, you mean?
Yeah. I wonder if it's completely, because that's what they were working on.
Maybe.
Well, it could be, and this would be about a month after the time frame of that. You could be looking at 5 acts for South Star on this list, but it's a good looking list. It's basically the same every year.
Pretty much, but they've really found their lane, you know.
Dude,
they know their audience.
Any millennial who has a decent career and income level will drop anything for this thing. It's crazy. So, and it's good for them.
Remember, Brad also said one artist on this When We Were Young lineup will be on the Bonnaroo 2025 lineup. So who do we think it is?
Oh, well, we said we're not gonna do rumors, but we can at least let's take a
rumor. This is just a guess.
A wish list.
Yeah.
There's one band. Now this could be somebody playing on the Who stage at noon on Thursday. Right.
You know how Brad is. He likes to be a
so
little
I
coy
might
with
need to
his hints.
it could be I'm trying to find the most obscure name on here I recognize from the bottom. And I just plain white tees.
Yeah.
Maybe that's who it is. I can't imagine it would be Blink or Avril or Offspring or Bad Religion or any of those, but I've been surprised before.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Panic at the Disco would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. For about 5 songs anyway.
Right.
But anyway, just thought that was weird. Just never seen a festival pump out
pretty quick
dates and artists as quickly as that one does. And
I know
then
we're used to such a slow moving machine. We know, January lineup and then this and this and this. It's all spaced out. This is not like Bonnaroo at all. This is breakneck speed when it comes to setting this up.
And for now, people still love it. And I guess because Vegas is such a destination city, that's going to be part of it as well. But
makes sense. Buy your tickets.
Yeah.
Get them early.
But that's about as much as I got. That was catching my interest of limited social media attention paid over the last 5 days.
All right. Anything else, Russ, before we sort of unpack again last week's show? Any other news?
I don't think so. I see you wearing your Beat shirt. I like that. Yeah.
Yep. I figured you
still
had yours
thinking
on
about
last
that
week.
concert.
I'm still, man. Talk about unpacking. I'm still. That was such a great show.
Yeah,
that was
that's
amazing.
Great.
That was so cool. All right. So we knew last week. Thanks again to Brad Parker and Cory Smith. These are the people that pretty much put together Bonnaroo. There's a whole staff, and don't mean to oversell it, but they are the face anyway of Bonnaroo, and they gave us a good 90 minutes last week. A lot of information. We talked a little bit going into it, and we came out of it sort of hitting some highlights. But now that we've had a week, what stands out? What are the highlights from what we heard from those guys?
Well, I've got a handful of things to bounce around. Russ, if you have anything you want to start with, let's go there, and then I'll just kind of bounce off wherever we go.
Yeah, I thought the most interesting, or one of the most interesting things they talked about was limited power stations at some campsites. That's huge.
Yeah,
And,
see, it's interesting that you would go with the camping, because that's, to me, that's the thing. It's the two different things. There's the lineup, which is what everybody wants to talk about, and then there's the reality of what's my week going to be like. And having power is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the other tent, and I thought I'm jumping ahead of you, Brian. I asked a question, and then I'm going to answer it. But like the primitive camping for students, I think is a great idea. Carpooling in, which is probably something the three of us need to talk about some more. I get what they're saying. It's not like
you can carpool with me, but you got to get there on Tuesday.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, those kinds of things, not huge. None of them were massive changes, right? But they were just that sort of detail to make things better.
No, and there doesn't, there doesn't have to be massive changes.
Right.
Little incremental, small tweaks and adjustments are a pretty pragmatic way to do things. And I made a list, and it's not necessarily an order of most important, but the first thing I thought about was I really appreciated how much they kind of leaned into, as much as they maybe didn't want to. We kind of stayed on it maybe a little longer than Brad wanted to, but the social media interaction, or not even interaction, because they're more lurkers, but
right.
the paying attention to what Reddit, Discord, Twitter, it's all of them, how much they really do pay attention to that, and how I think that's very, very important. And in so many industries, and I always tend to use the sports industry as a comp, because those are just two, this kind of world, and then that kind of world is where I spend a lot of time to analysis. But we don't look at that, or we don't hear what other people say, or we don't read the papers, as we would talk, say in another lifetime. Bullshit. You do. And if you don't, you are a fool. You should. Now, if you're soft and you have a problem with any kind of criticism, and then talk to your therapist.
Right.
But you need to be paying attention to this. You're a fool if you don't. And so I'm really happy to see that they not only said, yeah, we do it a lot, we do it often, and we do a very deep dive into it.
Well, let me add on to that, because I'm glad you said it that way, because I was thinking about it yesterday. You and the three of us know Brad, and we know Cory as Brad and Cory, right? We know them as people, but so do a lot of people on these social medias. They know them by name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they've been
not
very.
Like they're sending it to info at Bonnaroo.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going to tell Brad, I think he needs to have, this or that or whatever.
Yeah. They put themselves out there. Brad does it, but
It's a big difference.
social media wise, for sure. Cory talks about it. I mean, he's kind of like the Moon Taxi lead singer. It's a similar story of like, I used to come to this thing for years, and now I play it. And then I used to come for years, and now I'm the marketing manager. Like, so that's a really unique, fun story to tell, and people like it, and they can identify with it. They feel like they know the guy.
That's exactly what that's my point. Yeah, they know who to go to. You know? I mean, if
nothing else, they could just go to his show, which is another one coming to Knoxville for Thanksgiving, by the way.
Right.
It may suck for him. He
throw tomatoes at him.
Yeah, he went to play music, and now he's talking toilets at Bonnaroo, whatever. But no, I don't think that's a small thing. I think that's a great point you make. Is you know who to talk to, right?
Yeah. Pay attention to your to even the noise, because there's gonna be a lot in there. But that takes a lot of discipline. It really does. If you got a monster ego and an arrogant, out of control self importance, you don't want to you don't want to mess with that kind of stuff. Sorry, Brad Steiner, our guy. We all love him to death. He ain't doing this.
No.
He doesn't care what, he's the opposite on philosophy on this. For better or for worse, guys like him are not going to do this. And that's the difference in just approach. Some people it works, sometimes it doesn't.
That and the splitting hairs, the fact that they sort of delineate between like the 5-year veterans and the new people. Not that they don't listen to both, but they understand that they're different people.
I'm glad you brought that up because I don't remember where, if I didn't even note it, but I thought about that as I was listening to portions of the show where Brad basically said in 2 different times of the show, one he used actual numbers that were more specific, the other was kind of just commentary that reinforced what he was talking about, is that the next 20 years of Bonnaroo is not going to be defined by the people who went to the first 20.
Correct.
And that's, most people haven't gone to all first 20, but his point being the past isn't going to define the future. And boy, as much as us old guys would like to say, but can't just a little bit of it stay? Can we still just, no, that's not how this works. Or that's not how it needs to work if you want to have long-term viability. So I thought that was, he two times in the show referenced that and made a very clear point about that.
That and the other one, I think I asked at one point, how far out can you sort of predict? Can you tell us what 5 years, what the trend will be? And Cory was like, no.
Yeah, no.
I can tell you 1 year.
I kind of leaned into that too, and that's pretty unfair question, but
I know, but it was worth asking because it's like we like to think they can. It goes back to what you're saying. As veterans, we want to be able to think in 5 years I'm still going to be going, and it may not be for me. It may not be for you. It may not. It's gotta evolve and change.
You got to let it come to you, I guess.
Right. And be aware.
I think maybe the direction I was asking at one point was just what do you guys think? And I think just from a couple of dudes, and I think the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Neither do I. That's why I asked.
Yeah. The Thursday night thing is getting a lot of conversation, and the Sunday night thing, again, this gets to the rumors. I really don't have a guess. I think Sunday, he was pretty clear that Fred again was a clue as to what Sunday might look like.
Which means, to me, is just EDM on Sunday.
EDM, which is fine.
Yeah, well, 100%. He kind of clarified that because he said, don't take Fred again as literally the clue. He just meant it to say that they're looking at non-traditional,
like that
legacy.
That bold move. Look for more
legacy,
of those bold moves.
Not Tom Petty.
Right. That's what he was getting
rock.
at. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you dug through some of the comments on last week, but a lot of people were, he said, "Well, you'll never guess who it is." Well, a lot of people think they can guess, and
I know that was
obviously,
such a bomb. I don't know what the right word is. When he said it, I was like, "Oh man, come on! You'll never guess."
The Rolling Stones.
Yeah, Dolly.
Yeah,
your first thought is Dolly. Well, you just said we'll never guess.
Dolly and Miley.
Dolly
that was
my
a popular
first guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know. That was funny. That's why I let that go.
Well, you'll never guess means, to me, then I ain't gonna like it. If I'll never guess, I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah, that might be a way to spin.
But they're not booking a show for me to like necessarily. So
my second thought was Alan Jackson, just because he's such a massive star and somebody surprising that reached out. I'm like, and to your point, Brian, whatever. I will go, but that's not my pick. But
well, and to the Thursday night thing, Cory gave kind of a smirk smile when he was like, "Well, we'll listen to what the fans said," and I said, "Well, the fans want it on Thursday, so that's what we should do." And you're probably right. Here, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Time stamp mark today, and we'll come back to it. There will never not be a headliner on Thursday. That's just not how things work. That's not how American capitalism business works. You don't add to something and it be a success and then just not do it anymore. That's not how business works.
They think if they think it'll move tickets, and it probably will, to add a Thursday headliner, they're going to do it.
Because if you don't, you're charging us more, because it's going to be at least a little bit more.
Right.
It always is. And you're taking away value. They're setting themselves up for that very built-in criticism, which maybe they're fine with that. There won't be. There'll be an act on Thursday night.
I had a boss who used to, and I don't know who the historian was who said it, is people don't riot because they don't have something. They riot when you take something away.
Yes, they had it and then you took it away. That's a good point.
They organize if they don't have something, maybe, but they don't riot unless you take it away. Yeah.
So suddenly you're taking Thursday. That's a great point.
That's a good point.
And you know what? In my world, I just assumed it's always been there. I mean, even though it's only one time, it just feels like, you got to have it.
It feels like that's the way it should have been.
Got to have something on Thursday.
This whole time,
Thursday just becomes such an exciting day that, one single headliner on the greatest stage in the world. You're letting the greatest asset you have sit there.
Go unused,
Put one single act on it.
It's weird. So for people who are new, Thursday, I used to always write about it as move-in day. Thursday, you started in on Wednesday night. You went to the Walmart parking lot. You got in that line for 18,000 hours. And then you finally got in, you got your stuff unpacked, you got your camp set up, you opened a beer, and then you just sort of wandered around. And that was Thursday. And then you had small stages or whatever. Just
a few, and that was even many years afterwards.
That was right.
Like 5-6 years in before that started to happen.
But now with coming in on Tuesday and coming in on Wednesday, you're already doing that. You've already acclimated. So, Thursday now needs to have.
Now, Thursday, you're ready for a big act.
And a thing. Yeah.
One more small point to that, too, and not because it's dangerous, because it's not, but Bonnaroo becomes really crowded on Thursday when you close off that field. It's not just that the what stage is not open during that time. The field is closed.
Right.
So you can't. The crowd can't alleviate out into that.
That's right.
And Thursdays become, it's the day. You've got to be there by Thursday. You got to be there by Wednesday or you're not doing it right in most people's circles.
That's what's changed.
Throw up, and anyway, I believe that they will. And of course, they're not going to talk about something that they haven't planned on yet or down the road.
And the other side of that is the back end, Sunday night, with the last band, the last note, and then everybody wanted to go to Where in the Woods because it was the only thing happening. And as they noted, that isn't going to happen again.
That didn't work.
To continue to give credit to the guys, that they didn't even dance around that. They were like, that was bad. We don't need to do that anymore.
They didn't try to spin it or try to
no
do anything.
Political
they just
answers.
Agreed,
Like, well, we're checking with our team. We're looking at not going to do that.
He did. He went further. It wasn't just that was the only thing happening and it was crowded. It was the fact that they booked
two big
name acts in there, and it's not big enough space. So they're going to look at and if you listened, those name acts deserve to have a bigger, better $1 million stage.
Plus, they got a 24-hour section of Bonnaroo going on inside that you certainly could put them in there. But I think it doesn't matter who. You could throw Russ and the Bus up on top of that tree on Sunday, and they were gonna.
So it's like two different topics. Yeah. Exactly.
Sure. What to do specifically with the very end, and what to do with the 4 days of programming.
Correct.
For the EDM crowd.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I get ready for a lot of EDM this year. Is the way that I read through those lines.
They really primed it for a lot of EDM for sure.
Yeah,
which
that's
I'm fine with. Again,
Yeah.
EDM.
You got
is
your
not
own
what we
stage,
think
man.
of.
You gotta
It's
do
not
something.
based in, it's not based in trap. It's all kinds of things. So
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Well, speaking of EDM, this weekend at the on the Bluff, I hung out with EDM Kyle. Who,
our buddy
you know,
EDM Kyle. What's up, Kyle?
Yeah, so shout out to him, and he even told me, he was like, there's a lot more to me than just EDM. I feel like I can offer. Well, and I was like, I get it. I said,
I don't know,
but the
dude.
reason
I think that's your area of expertise right there, buddy.
Well, but we already have Kyle the Bonnaroovian, so we had to come up with some name to differentiate
new
him,
nickname.
because the two Kyles, so EDM Kyle. So we'll have him back on at some point.
Hey,
and yeah,
you get your
he's got a
nickname
lot
how
he
you
wants
get
to
your
talk
nickname.
about.
That's
Yeah, you think I
hilarious.
want to be
could just
called
see him
Taco?
saying, there's a lot more to me than just.
I know that's what he said.
Was he drinking the brown liquor yet?
Drinking some liquor.
I love
And
it.
But,
Russ,
yeah, we'll
of
have him
course,
back
you
on
like
for it.
being called Taco. You like that now. Maybe for a
That's
minute
funny.
you didn't.
That's funny.
But on here, I mean, we've kind of already glossed over a few of these. There was two in particular that I kind of starred with a note. I thought it was interesting. The which is so common in all American business is the expedited transition from the pandemic, from AC with whatever was left of the residue of whatever of Superfly into C3 and how that was supposed to be a years long transition, which is very, very common in buyouts, major corporate buyouts. It's now we're going to give these people jobs. And a lot of times it's often creating jobs you don't need, like we'll give you a 2-year, Ashley, I'm just use Ashley because we've all met him, and Barry, him more personally. Hey, Ashley, okay, thanks. We're going to buy your company. You'll be the executive of interactive fan experience director for 3 years at X dollars a year. That's often how that goes. It's often needless. And so there might have been a lot of, hey, here's instead of that 3-year thing and all this transition, we're just scratch these checks, move along. And as we all saw being a part of it from 19 all the way to 2019 to 2022, that change to primarily C3 Live Nation control was evident and obvious and fast.
I'm
and
glad
the pandemic made that happen.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I don't think I talked about that well the way I meant. And to hear Brad say what he said was, for people, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you probably heard last week, but I made it sound like I thought C3 was going to be a terrible, terrible thing, and he was very excited that it was going to be a great thing. I think it's somewhere in the middle.
I'm glad you brought that up.
When it happened, we on this show thought, oh man, the 800-pound gorilla, literally the man, however you want to call it,
the machine,
the
man.
machine just bought our beloved thing, and they're going to run it like a corporation. And there was some of that.
I think the jury's still out. It's too early to say that this is like the smoothest thing we've ever seen. It's too early to say that.
Except what we just said earlier about having Brad and Cory be the face of these guys they're us. I mean, they love this festival like we do. But C3 is a ginormous corporation, and so there were some
nearly global conglomerate, yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So,
well, they kicked us out of our campground,
and they kicked us out of our campground.
That's probably the worst thing that's come out of it,
because we talked about it too dang much.
Yeah,
and they figured out they could make a buck. We half joke, but that is the truth. They have to make money. They are a business. They have to make money, and I get that. But and that was the point that I was trying to make, and I think we did make, for them to be able to transition from AC and Superfly, which basically a bunch of, I don't want to call them frat guys, but I mean,
I was going to say hippies.
They were those guys in college that booked the shows that we all went to and had the keggers, and then they figured out they could make a living at it.
They were the cool friends of yours or ours or people's of your orbit of friends and social circles who had the means, had a little bit more expertise than you did. But if you just took a picture of all of you, you look the same.
It's
but those
Dazed and Confused, man. Hey, we're getting a kegger. We're going up into the.
But those four guys over there had a little bit more capital and a little bit more pull, and they actually made it happen. Yes, that was all real, and that's what made it so charmingly wonderful from the beginning.
Exactly.
But I mean, that hasn't been the way things are for 15 plus years.
But we knew them. We talked to those guys.
They
had them on the show
every year.
They're literally like, I want to have Paul McCartney at my event.
We're gonna get him.
I'm getting a keg of beer. Y'all come. There just happens to be 80,000 of you. And so, when you hear C3 is buying it or Live Nation, naturally you're thinking, dang, what's going to change? Is everything, is it going to become too corporate? And it had some of that, but some of that is, it has to.
Oh, I mean, it's been doing that for a while, and it certainly has. If you're the guy that gets really irritated by the massive over corporate takeover of stuff, I mean, we don't have the Verizon wireless stage. But I mean, they got the Verizon wireless, everything else.
Yeah.
They've kept. I think they've done a really good job of incorporating a lot of corporate sponsors. From I don't know why my memory's not working right now. They're Fructose, the shampoo company. There's so many others, and once upon a time I would have looked at that on any level as I don't know what. It's silly, annoying, ridiculous, whatever. I don't have a problem. I would if I walk in there in the what stage with the beautifulness of it, and all of a sudden it's got a banner hanging down on it that says T-Mobile. I might have a problem with that, but outside of that, man, you got to make the money, and I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
And that was the point, and that again, it all wraps up, and it we're obviously fans. We're a fan of Cory and Brad. We're a fan of the show, the event. For them to be able to transition from that is pretty cool.
It is,
done a good job.
It is, and let me and you just preface it all correctly, but I'm gonna stay in the realm of Live Nation and C3. The other thing here, the last one I kind of have with a star on it was this is a paraphrase quote from Brad saying that C3 has revolutionized the entire industry. And I'm guessing entire would put brackets of festival, or live event industry is what he was referring to. And I thought, okay, the way he's saying that sounds like, okay, yeah, well, great. Revolutionize the whole industry. That sounds like a really positive, good comment. And then I'm like, or is it? We sure? Hold on. Ticketmaster first, the villains, the bad guys, going all the way back to the mid-1990s. And that's just, people got used to it and stopped talking about it, but we never changed our mind, right? We never came around 20 years later and said, that Ticketmaster, a little misunderstood, Yeah. We never did that. And then Live Nation bought Ticketmaster 10 years, however long years ago. And then Live Nation started to really, they turned into the new bad guys. And none of us, at least I haven't said, kind of getting a little soft spot for the Live Nation conglomerate. They're kind of they're helping things. No, all I do is look at is Live Nation is not doing things well. They're making ticketing more difficult.
Yeah,
the dynamic.
You've talked about that on your Stone on Air podcast quite
all
a bit.
This stuff
is a whole nother thing. Yeah,
it's all the same thing now. And so the idea that I'm supposed to celebrate that C3 has revolutionized the industry is hard for me to digest. I'm not mad that the comment came out, and I don't even know what I think at this point, but I'm conditioned to say, did you misspeak? Revolution, did you mean destroy? Was that the word you meant? And that's being a little unfair, probably, because what did I write here? I wrote, C3 revolutionized the industry, in parentheses, good, ? And then, we don't like Live Nation, right?
Right.
That's what I wrote down. So I don't know if they're revolutionizing the industry the way that I mean, Brad knows what to say. Brad Parker knows what he's doing, just like he told you in the text. We know what we're doing. They do. They absolutely do. He also knows how to communicate well.
Yep.
And I do believe they're doing great things. I do. You look at the resume of C3 and the festivals they produce and the work they do is really, really good. But I thought I hated Live Nation, so I'm stuck on this.
No,
you know?
no, it feels like completely different things. There's Bonnaroo, and then there's your local venues and your local touring and your local Ticketmaster. You've had Brian again on your podcast. I've heard you talk about sometimes it goes well. You buy a ticket, it goes well, but then if you have to resell it, it creates a whole nother thing.
Or yeah. I mean, the fact that they own the secondary market is something I'll always have a problem with. Like, you'll never convince me that these massive, which is basically Live Nation. I mean, these are all not subsidiaries of Live Nation, C3, Ticketmaster, Axis, whatever you're buying. If it doesn't say Ticketmaster or Live Nation, it's Ticketmaster and Live Nation, and they've monopolized the secondary market. They've made things that used to be pretty simple much more difficult, but they give you the illusion, and using George Carlin terminology here, the illusion of choice. That we've given you all these great options. You didn't really. You didn't. I just wanted to buy tickets.
I think that's the main point. It's the lack of competition, because there really is no competition to this. So if we are unhappy with the way they do things, there's no other option. Like you said, I mean, it's
Another thing about Pearl Jam, they had this thing since 1994, and it's the same problems then as it is now. But then there's also, they do put on,
even Taylor Swift. Tried to speak
they
out
do put
it.
on an spectacular show.
Yeah,
all the stuff that Brad Parker talks about the best in the business of live entertainment industry, all the cool little quirky terminology used, best in the streets, the show. He refers to everything as the show, the best show. He's not wrong there. There's no argument there. These are world-class, incredible events. But there's a lot of parts to it that I've been, maybe even unfairly preconditioned to say, well, that sounds great. Screw you anyway.
I'm gonna go way off the rails. You're gonna think I'm crazy. To me, it's sort of like home renovation stuff and paint colors. We all go to a store and we think we're gonna pick something unique to us. But the reality is those colors have already been chosen for us. And if you drive through a neighborhood, all the houses look pretty similar. You probably never thought about it, but I have, because
100% never have.
I know. But you didn't really have a lot of choices. You had about 8 or 9 choices. It was already picked for you. You just picked of those 8 or 9, and it's very similar.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very interesting and fair comparison, and there is a lot of truth to. I will subscribe to the theory. Oftentimes, people don't know what they want.
Right.
They're not sure what they want, and being a tastemaker, I think that's another thing he said. We will always be in in this industry, and also confident and cocky enough, that's not the words he used, maybe even arrogant enough to say we know how to set this trend. And I think it's fair in
I agree 100%.
in Bonnaroo to say, I mean, if you took out Live Nation, you just want to say a quick comment that was like, Bonnaroo revolutionized the way festivals are. No one's going to disagree with that. They're the greatest music festivals in the world of the last 50 years. Coachella would knock on your door and say, "Hey, but that's not this statement that's going to make people like, whoa, that's crazy. No way." But when we talk Live Nation, that's different. But I'll drop it on that.
Yeah.
And then really overall, just quickly, because I do need to wrap things up here. So sorry, everybody, for personal stuff, but I got to get moving soon. But student tickets, I thought is a very cool idea.
Great idea.
He did say there's just a couple. I couldn't remember if it was a couple or a few, but just means not a lot. Thousands initially. It's not going to be like
a couple thousand.
You're not going to get your,
no, they're not going to be 80,000 people in tents. No.
Yeah. But that's a nice little addition. And the carpool parking pass, I am dying to know how that'll work because I'm not smart enough to guess how that works effectively. But it's a great idea.
It is a great idea. But how they're going to pull that off, don't know.
I thought the same because where are you going to put the other 2 cars or 3 cars?
Yeah.
But
it's a great idea, and I'll be very surprised or interested to see how that turns out. Quickly, the final one here that I just thought was an interesting comment from Cory or Brad, one of the two, I can't remember, sorry, but that the survey, the census or whatever that we talked a little bit about, which I thought was interesting, but just the comment that it's thrown out there just to make sure we're not asleep at the wheel on one small thing.
Sure.
That's why they put a bunch of weird, like, do you want 2 days of Bonnaroo?
Sure.
I mean, it took a minute to beat it out of them. There's no chance they're doing 2 weekends of Bonnaroo. But they put things like that on there to just make sure
what if
they didn't get 80% of people saying they do want that. Well, hold on. That means something. Let's sit around and talk about it.
Exactly.
Sure.
We don't want it. We don't think, but 80% do. Yeah, that's exactly.
It's at least
also
creates conversation.
A little buzz too. Yeah, it creates conversation. People think, "What? That's on the survey?" Then they're going to go fill out the survey because I want to, So it just gets them more responses at the same.
There's
point,
that too, and they're gathering data and email addresses and all that too. Is what part of that is.
Yeah.
I do want to ask both of you. Cory and Brad said, you'll never guess who this Sunday headliner is. Well, I want to hear your guess.
Sunday or Thursday?
Doesn't have to be either one. Just, not a rumor, but just who you think it is or who you'd want it to be. I'm just curious.
Because it's going to come from EDM, I'm not going to have a guess right now without some references to guess from or to choose from. But there is something with GWL, something. What is this? I keep seeing this artist that keeps popping up on a lot of these EDM things. Whoever that is, whoever this thing, I just randomly kind of sort of threw some letters out there. Whoever that is.
Pick 3 random letters.
That's who I think it's going to be.
All right. That's in your alphabet soup this morning.
Maybe I can find it.
I for some reason Alan Jackson keeps popping into my head for Thursday.
I thought you were joking when you said that.
No. I think it's a country act. I don't know, and I have absolutely no good reason. No inside knowledge type of thing. Dolly obviously is the first one, but
that's on everybody's
straight
list.
up said, you'll never guess. Well, 99.9% of the people would have said Dolly first. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, country's hot. Country's hot. Pop country's hot. Always is. I know Alan Jackson's not pop country, but
whoever it is reached out to them. Don't forget that, right?
That's another point. And my guess, or maybe my wish, would be Beck. Partially because we were supposed to get Beck at Southside and we were denied because Sunday was canceled. I could just see that as being a cool Bonnaroo show.
And that was a South Star. He was supposed to be. He was Sunday night at South Star, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's part of why. That's my guess. Is I'm just kind of like wishful thinking. Like I really wanted to see that Beck show. Again,
could be Blink. Because Blink reached out to do South Star. I don't know.
It'd be huge. It'd be huge.
What I mean is that a you'll never guess huge?
Yeah, that's
no, and I would put them on a legacy act too, so I wouldn't expect that on a Sunday. But I cannot come up with the name I was trying to find. I'll get back to you on that ridiculousness. But
all right.
I just kept seeing that pop up on EDM lineups.
Well, I love that the 3 of us all guessed something completely different.
I mean, if it's just wish list, I've said many, many times, I'd love to see Van Morrison, but I'm not sure Van Morrison wants to play the farm. He's, so enigmatic anyway. put him in the heat in June in Manchester, he could suck.
Yeah, you could get a great show, or you could get an hour of him just cussing everybody out.
Right, playing his deep cuts.
Yeah,
So.
we'll spend some more time on these kinds of things over the course of of the off season. But I mean, for me, I mean, I'm just one of the luckiest guys in the world. I mean, I've seen almost every band there is to see that I want to see pretty much at Bonnaroo. And if I didn't see them at Bonnaroo, I've seen them pretty much everywhere else. I mean, I'm just very, very privileged and lucky and thankful, grateful for that. I mean, it's almost like, what do you want to see at Bonnaroo? Well, let me tell you all the ones I already have.
I know.
Like there's not much left.
Again,
I mean, there's the only ones left aren't living anymore almost.
That's right. I have not seen the Stones. I have not seen Van Morrison.
You know, I mean, I can start picking a few out that I haven't, but that realistic to play at Bonnaroo. There's just, you know, Neil Young, the Buffalo Springfield, the real Beach Boys, as real as I could get. You know, lots of. I just picked a couple of random, you know, super old acts, but
100%.
The list goes on and on and on.
Didn't you know? The list of people who are now dead that I wish I had seen. Yeah, that's a whole other list. Man. But I'm with you, man. I mean,
if you take Bonnaroo out of my life, my culture meter drops like to the floor. Like I haven't seen anything. Like I could give you a list of a wish list of music that would never end if Bonnaroo didn't exist, because every year they package at least 5 or so acts that I just have to see, and that's been going for 20 years. Without Bonnaroo, I would be, who the hell knows what I would be.
In genres that you would never walk across the street.
Chappell Roan, my God, a record. I paid $60 for this. What the hell's the matter with me, right? I love it. I love it.
That's
I
awesome.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, and you're just going to hang it on the wall. I can't believe that.
Well, I'm going to listen. I've spun it like once, but I mean, how many times can I listen to Hot to Go? Pink Pony Club. I got it. Go on the wall.
When you're doing your laundry, I can see you listen to that when you're doing your Swiffering.
Listen, the worst songs are always the most popular, and Hot to Go and Pink Pony Girl are not on my playlist.
Brian,
super modern,
Swiffer in the house.
Swiffer into Chappell.
Good Luck Babe, Super Modern Girl, Phenomenon. The list goes on and on of the great songs. Kink is My Karma. Oh, God, best song of the last year and a half.
Now I want the Brian Stone Cleaning House playlist. Put it out.
Pink Pony Club.
Yeah.
All right, man. Stone, you got to get down to Atlanta. Tell everybody at Brave Central, Goober says hey.
All right, we'll do it. And it's always fun. We'll do it again. We're getting it. We're going to wake up here soon. The holidays will be over.
Going to be right on top of us.
I know we keep saying we're going to take a break, but we still keep coming up with stuff to talk about.
Fun. All right. See you guys.
All right. See you, buddy.
See ya.